What's up, everybody? It's Scott from RC Mustsee, and thanks for watching. Just got home from 9 hours of work and have the night free, so I figured I would tackle a project on our little Jlb Cheetah here that I've been meaning to do. It's been kind of an issue of contention on the Facebook page, and a lot of people have been wondering. If you saw my last video, you saw that when you run the Cheetah through water, it does tend to kind of short. Now, some people have ideas about what's causing it. I kind of want to get to the bottom of it. So I have been planning to Plasti-Dip my receiver and ESC just to see if this was it. And I might even do the servo because there are theories out there. Now, I went to the auto parts store, picked up a little can of the spray Plasti-Dip. You can use this, I think, by just spraying it a little bit in a well-ventilated area. Not directly on. I think I'll brush it on in a couple coats. But I'm hoping this will fix the problem. There's only one way to find out. I'm not going to spray the truck with water or anything like that. I'm just going to use it outside the next time I find some puddles. And I will continue this video at that point. But for tonight, I think I'm going to remove everything and give everything a coat the way it should be done, at least in my idea, and maybe give you a little how-to and how to do it. There have been some requests for this. So this is my first time doing this. It's pretty much common sense. You're just trying to seal off all the electronics from water getting in. Definitely true. Nothing is 100% waterproof, and doing this might void the warranty on the component, but that's okay. If it goes bad, I'll just replace it. That's part of the hobby anyway, right? So here we go. So there you have it, the old familiar sight, the guts of the Cheetah. Good stuff, right? So the first thing I'm going to want to do is just, I guess, remove the components. And then the next thing will definitely be to give them a decent cleaning. This Plasti-Dip will pretty much stick to anything, and it does peel off as well. Once it gets in the nooks and crannies of things, it's probably not as easy to remove, but that's one of the great things about this product is that it's not permanent in theory. So let's go ahead and start removing those pieces. Alright, well, you got to clip the zip ties holding on the wires here. You might not have to, but I'm going to because I want everything out of the way. Obviously, be really careful not to clip your wires. Also, make sure you have zip ties to replace them. Guys, if I can make another recommendation, I would say that before you start ripping anything apart, whether it's electronics or just another component on the truck, I would recommend taking a photo of everything the way it is meant to be. That way you have it as reference, so when you go to put it back together, you don't have to worry about trying to remember or figure out how things are supposed to go. So that's what I'm going to do. It's something I do when I work on bicycles, and it's something I'm going to do now. First, I'm going to unplug the motor from the ESC. Easy enough. So when I got my Cheetah, the ESC had actually come off the bed of the chassis. I don't know if they did that for shipping or if the double-sided tape that they had failed. It was on there. It might have fallen off. So what I did when I got my truck was I used some kind of double-sided poster tags that you're able to rip off the wall and it won't damage your wall. I left the tabs hanging out. So in theory, I should be able to just yank those out and that should release the ESC. Time to see if that worked. And it didn't. All right, well, it was a good idea. At least it did the job of keeping it in the chassis. I'll just have to pry it off of there. No big deal. And there you have it. There's the other end of my poster hangs. Still fully intact there. You could see all the dirt that's gotten in there. I do have some nice 3M foam tape that I have from my Viterra Twin Hammers build that I think I'll use. This was extra. But now you have a view of your ESC. Cooling fan on top. That actually just comes undone. I think I'm going to unplug it from the receiver, and I'm also going to unplug the fan from the ESC. So let's do that. And when you do that, remember, don't pull on the cables. Pull it out by the actual plug. Unless you want to replace these, you will rip it right out of there. So be careful. Use a tool if you need to. Look at that, guys. Bunch of green corrosion on that lead there. Very interesting. Not much you can do to avoid that, but this is a place where water can definitely get in there. Sorry about the lighting. See if I can get that a little bit better for you. There we go, a little bit better. But all of these places are places that water can get in. And you don't obviously want to seal this off, but we'll find a way to get around that. So these screws, I don't think they're even actually screwed into a threaded part on this ESC because they just spin. I'm almost positive that they're almost anchors into the heatsink that's on top of this little device here. I bet you it pulls right off. Yep. There we go. One fan, and I was right. The screws actually just wedge themselves in here. That's interesting. So I can see, actually looking, that there's actually dirt inside of there, which is another obvious sign that things are getting inside of that, especially water. That dirt was almost certainly carried in by water. All right, so now that I have the ESC off, I think I'm going to remove the heatsink. That is also what holds the plastic casing together. Maybe I'll pull it apart, see what's going on in there, empty out some of the dirt, and possibly actually waterproof the circuit board itself and not bother, or at least not rely on the outer coating here. There's 4 little tiny screws in there. There you have it. Looking at it, I can see dirt. You can see, get my pick here. This is an entry point. These are entry points for the water to get in. Right there, the on-off switch. And the big one, I think, is there. No doubt. I see another board underneath it. All right, so here's the guts of it. I just pulled it out of its little tray here. You can see tons of sand in there. And you can definitely see, at least I can, there's some white corrosion going on here. I think that's where the water pools and what could be causing a short in the truck. Now, I am not going to be so brave as to actually try to yank this thing apart. After all, I do want it to work. And I am not an electrician, and I don't work on electronics. So I'm at a little bit of a standstill here as to how exactly to approach waterproofing this. I might throw it back in the case and do it from the exterior instead of trying to mess with the circuitry on this end. But it's interesting. It's interesting at least to look at. Also interesting on the back of the heatsink here is like a very delicate piece of rubber that's molded for the top of the electronics there. Almost like this was their attempt at waterproofing that board, as well as, obviously putting it in that little case. This was their attempt at maybe sealing off those little transistors in there, whatever they are. But it's already falling apart as I'm touching it. So kind of freaked out. But I think it is dirty too. So I'll just clean everything up and throw it back together. Whoa. I also took the time to open up the receiver, and that circuit board is actually coated in like a Teflon of some sort of like what we were trying to do with the ESC. This whole thing is already pre-coated, if you can see that. As you can see, mine is full of sand, so I don't think I'm going to do anything to this except clean it off and close it back up. All right, you can see I actually took everything out there. Here's your steering servo, the stock one. This is leftover adhesive from the receiver. And something I noticed, even though that technically this was under the receiver, look at this little waterproof gasket that has kind of moved out of the way. That certainly isn't going to keep water out. I don't know if that got damaged when I pulled the receiver off of there, but while it's out, I might as well also Plasti-Dip this. You can undo it. You don't have to use an L wrench and take these off. It unbolts from the bottom of the chassis. Comes right off. So there you have my dirty tub, and get that everything cleaned up and good to go. All right, there you have all three components Plasti-Dipped. I didn't really overdo it with it. I did decide to actually dip the circuit boards just because I think with the big hole in the top of the cover, there was no way water wasn't going to get in, and that's in that section right there. So I made sure that the leads stayed clean with some tape and did, I guess, maybe 2 or 3 coats on that, as you can see. It should do something, but the main dipping I think I'll do when I put it all back together with the ESC. Guys, I was careful not to move the servo arm during that. Worst case scenario, if it did move, you'd have to recenter it using your remote, center it, the bias. But I think I should be putting it back just the way I took it apart. Alright, so now I have to reassemble the whole ESC. Not very difficult. I am going to reuse the little kind of, I guess, shock absorbing, waterproofing mat that hugs these little transistors or whatever you want to call them. I don't know. And then the four screws cinches everything together from here. Don't want to over tighten these, crack it. pretty interesting to open this thing up. Not something I thought I would do, but after watching a couple other YouTube videos and seeing other people doing this, not to this one, but to other ESCs, I thought I'd give it a go, and it made the most sense to me as well. And hopefully I didn't break it. But that's kind of the internal waterproofing I decided to do. I think the next step is to give the outside a coat, probably covering up the heatsink. I wouldn't want to coat that too much in Plasti-Dip, although I don't know if it would really matter, but might as well just play it safe and cover that up. But that's what I'm going to do next. I am using the spray, guys. I'm not dipping it, so I'm giving it I'll be giving this maybe 4 coats or 5 coats, and then I'm going to let it cure overnight. And then hopefully I'll wake up in the morning and give the old truck a test. Before I finish dipping, here's a quick view of everything taped off. Everything on the end taped just in case. Not like it's hard to peel off. This stuff is pretty awesome. It just peels off as a coat if you've never used Plasti-Dip before. And then I just did my best to put some tape over top of this. There's the start button, or I should say the on-off button. It's not a PlayStation. That's cool. I left it white. You can peel off any excess, but in here is where we want to get it, in all those holes. I did tape off where you actually plug in the transmitter and the fan. I should say receiver and fan. Oof, it's late. Sorry, guys. So I blocked that off. Water will still be able to get in there, but at least I waterproofed the inside. That's why I did it. We'll see what happens. No guarantees. So I'm going to get back to work, and then I got to go to bed. All right, let's do it. Okay, guys, there it is. Everything Plasti-Dipped. You'll notice that this doesn't look like it is. That's because I had a bit of tape over top of it, because I wanted to still be able to see everything here. Those are still ports for water to get in, but like we saw when I split it open, this actually isn't that susceptible to being damaged by water because the electronics plate is already coated in silicone or something like that. So that's good, but everything else has a coat. A little bit messy looking, but that's okay. It's going to be under the body. I don't care. Made sure I plugged everything in back the right way because of those nice reference photos I took earlier. So that's something definitely watch out for. And the loom and everything isn't cleaned up yet because I want to make sure it turns on before I cinch everything down. So here comes the moment of truth. I already have my battery plugged in. Turn on the transmitter first. Alright, guys, this is the first test. Does it actually turn on? Yeah. Alright. Alright, well, my fans aren't spinning. That's a little weird. That's okay. They're probably just... I might have plugged that in incorrectly, but the question is, does it actually throttle? It does. Okay, so for now, everything seems to be working. How about the steering? Ah, nice. Okay, so job over. Not too difficult. Definitely time consuming if you're going to do all of that stuff. Just to remove it all and take your time. Like I said, I didn't dip it. I used the spray, so that actually made it take a little bit longer, but definitely give it time to cure overnight if you do. Obviously the real test will be a run test. Unfortunately, it is pitch black outside. I could go out at night, but that's not really my thing. So this concludes the video. To Plasti-Dip your Cheetah parts. Hopefully you have the same level of success. I have to say it again. I probably don't recommend that you do this, so don't blame me if you take everything apart and it breaks. That's not my fault. This was just me chronicling my experience. So do the job at your own risk. That's for sure. Okay. So the next video will definitely be a run video. I'll see if I can find a little bit of water where I go. Maybe we'll get some rain. Hopefully not. I hate the rain, but stay tuned, guys. Thank you for watching, and click and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done so. I do tons of cheetah videos, and I have lots more stuff coming if you're a fan of RC in general. All right, thanks a lot. Have a great night. Cheers.